Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Frontline Advantage. We've got two fantastic guests on today to talk about safety. Alok Maheshwari and Vivek Kulkarni will be telling you a little bit about themselves. Alok?
Yeah, thanks, Vivek. Really appreciate this opportunity. Yeah, hey, good afternoon, everybody. First name's Alok, and I'm your traditional health and safety professional. Been doing this for about 25 years, but just recently have started my own company called KDD Safety. And, in traditional safety, we focus a lot on training. We focus on PPE. We focus on what do we do after something bad happens. And what I've really learned in my career here thus far is we really need to engage with our employees that are out in the field that are closest to the hazards. What is it that they really believe in their heart, and what is it they're thinking? So that's really where KDD Safety is focused on, is trying to get our leadership teams to prove to their employees on the field that they do care about them, not only saying those words, but actually proving it to them.
That was awesome, Alok. So I'm Vivek. I started a company called RN Technologies a few years ago. We actually started with the intention of providing situational awareness to first responders in environments where you can't keep track of where everybody is. But then we pretty quickly figured out that while that is a need, it is an extremely hard problem to solve. So we took the easy way out and started looking at easier problems to solve with the technology we had. So we ended up pivoting to build a product that allowed us to improve safety around primarily forklifts and any kind of powered industrial vehicles. The way we do that is we provide situational awareness to the forklift operator as well as pedestrian workers and other forklift operators that work around these machines. What people don't realize is forklifts are small pieces of equipment in terms of size and what you see, but they are way heavier than the largest passenger vehicle that we can purchase for our families, for example. And so they can cause a lot of damage. As a matter of fact, we found very quickly that for every square foot that a forklift operates in, there is an annual maintenance cost of about $1. So if you're running a 100,000 square foot warehouse, you're spending $100,000 a year on maintenance cost just to fix things that the forklift runs into. But anyway, yeah, that's who we are, RN Technologies, and that's we're basically trying to eliminate accidents around forklifts.
Topics definitely around safety, eliminating accidents, an outcome where there's just fewer people getting injured. What are the most common ways accidents typically occur in these industrial environments? What are the top reasons you're finding firsthand when dealing with clients? And you touched a little bit on it, but if you can elaborate on how you effectively solve these problems differently than others.
Yeah, sure, Vivek. And I'm gonna not use that word accident because to me it implies stuff happens. And what the data proves is 98% of all incidents could have been prevented if somebody would have done the right thing. So I'm going to just use the phrase incidents. And when you do go, when I think back to my 25 years in safety and think about the incidents I was involved in or some of my customers were involved in, very rarely do you see that it was solely based on lack of training. Maybe the quality of training could have been better, but a lot of it goes to is employees taking some sort of shortcut, right? And we'll just say is we have an employee, for example, Vivek, that's standing on top of a ladder. And everybody knows not to stand on the top two steps of a ladder. And traditionally in safety, we have an incident. The safety manager does the incident investigation. And the corrective action is we're going to make the poor employee go through ladder safety training again. but he's been using a ladder for the last 20 years, and he could probably do the safety training on ladders better than the safety manager. But we go through that gyration, make him take the test. He gets at least 80% on it. We say click, done, corrective actions in place, and then somewhere down the line something happens again within the factory or the construction site. And so what we really need to get our employees to do and believe is it's okay for them if they don't have the right tool. It's okay to go all the way across to the other end of the manufacturing building, go to the warehouse, get the 10-foot ladder instead of the 6-foot ladder. And if you need to fill out a ladder permit, if you need to wear gloves, if you need to get somebody to hold the ladder for you, right? We have all kinds of rules, policies, and procedures in place, but really trying to get our employee to believe that their boss would want them to take a 5-minute job that they would do incorrectly and turn it around and do it the right way and take 30 minutes to do it. And Vivek, I would say to both of you is, have we ever stood on a chair at home to change the light bulb, to reach the dishes that are up in the cupboards that we only use at Thanksgiving and Christmas? Whereas we know we should get the right tool for the job, but instead we may stand on a chair at home. And that's exactly what we're trying to change at the workplace. And therefore, that's why workers are 8 times more likely to get hurt at home than at work. Necessarily don't have the right tools, and I don't have a boss watching over me, and so hence I don't believe I need to do it the right way. And I'll turn it over to you, Vivek.
So I want to make a comment there. I do have a boss watching over me. As a matter of fact, I have a whole hierarchy of bosses in my house. With the top boss being my wife, and then both of my kids. So I do have bosses that make me do things a particular way, and they will let me know. But talking about what you're saying, one of the themes is, and we've heard this multiple times and seen this. There's always a tension between productivity and doing it right, and sometimes the need to be more efficient, the need to do more in the amount of time available, the need to do more with what is available, um, totally overtakes the need to do it right, the need to do it with the right tools. And that is where that tension arises in my mind, right? In our own experience, we've had many operations managers say to us, I want my material to be moving as fast as possible. I don't want it to slow down. I want the material to move as fast as possible. Now, what can we do to enable it to move as fast as possible while improving or maintaining a high level of safety? They don't want to slow things down, at least in my experience. And so anything that tries to slow things down, I find there's a huge amount of pushback against that kind of stuff. That is what leads to these incidents where you're trying to do more with what you have rather than doing, like you said, walk across the factory. Maybe that's a 5-10 minute walk. Find what you need, come back. That's another 10 minutes. Now, for something that, you could, in your mind, do in the time that you're going to the storeroom to pick up a longer ladder, you're like, I'll just reach up and do it and be done with it, right? So it's that trade-off that people are making that leads. And again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that is what happens. That's what leads to these kinds of incidents. All of that costs money. So now the trade-off is, do I spend a half an hour? Let's say this person is making $50 an hour, and I'm using round numbers because I'm bad at math. And they're walking somewhere and walking back with a new ladder. That's a half an hour. That's $25 in simply bringing the piece of equipment that you need for the job. So how do you balance the spend versus the safety? And that's where I think it gets really interesting.
Right. So that you're right. There is that balance between production and safety. If there is an incident and the employee that did stand on top of that ladder gets hurt, We pull that employee into the conference room and we do an incident investigation, and we ask them why you've gone through the training and you know you should not stand on the top step of a ladder. Why did you do that? And it's because he believes his supervisor, his boss, is not okay with him walking 10 minutes across the warehouse to get the right tool and the 10 minutes back. And so one of the things that when we talk about culture and what is the number one way of improving a culture within an organization, right? And then that one piece, if I could do anything, is to focus on that recognition piece, the positive recognition.
Right.
When our kids, our employees do something right, when that employee does take 30 minutes to do that 5-minute job, we should recognize that employee for doing exactly what it is we want him and her to do. And guess who sees that? Everybody else in the warehouse, everybody else in the household sees that. And that's what promotes continuing to do it the right way. And so when I think about the word culture, what does the word culture mean to me? It means, what is it that my employees are doing when the boss is not around? When the boss is around, we're all using the ladder safely. When the police car is behind me and I'm driving to LA from here, I'm driving safely, Vivek. I'm driving a little bit over the speed limit. I got two hands on the steering wheel. The phone is nowhere in sight. I even turn the radio down. I start to feel a little tense. The cop goes by me or goes off on the exit. Back to driving the way I'm used to driving. I'm driving a little bit faster than I probably should be. And, maybe I'm take a peek at that phone every once in a while, which I know I should not be doing. And so again, that's where we're really getting to is what is it that our employees believe, not only up here, but also what they feel. And when our employees do it the right way, boy, we need to celebrate. When an employee reports a near miss, an incident that occurred, but nobody got hurt, we need to celebrate that employee shared that with his leadership team. Because very easily, they did not have to share that with their boss. Nobody saw it. Nobody got hurt. No foul, no crime committed. Let's move on. Let's get back to production. But when they do stop and share with their leadership team what happened, we should really recognize that employee and celebrate our employees are doing exactly what we want them to do and what we've trained them to do and what we keep telling them over and over again at safety meetings, what we want them to do.
All the things you just talked about, right? That's what makes us human. And, it's, I just want to go a little faster. I just want to get things done. I just want to, that's what makes us human. We get distracted. We do things we shouldn't be doing, even though we know we shouldn't be doing them. And therefore, I feel like the way to build, solutions in addition to training. So training is like muscle memory, right? If you keep making people do certain things over and over and over again, it just becomes second nature. And when in an emergency, that second nature kicks in, the muscle memory kicks in, and you do the right stuff. So training is absolutely important. But I also feel if, considering that the fact that we're all human, if we can build solutions using technology that just fit into the ecosystem of what you're trying to do, the environment that you're in, then, you could be on a highway speeding, but if there's nobody nearby, is that fine? Yeah, it's fine. Especially if it's a dry road, if the conditions are favorable to you going at a faster speed. But if they're not, let's say your tires are a little bald and there's water on the street, on the roads. If technology can determine that, and yeah, you're hitting the gas pedal, but it says, wait a minute, I'm not going to let that throttle go down to the engine. I'm going to let the car slow down on its own. That would be an intervention that is not necessarily something that you would get pissed off at, but it's also not something that is so obtrusive in your way that you get annoyed with it. right? So it's a fine balance. And I think that's where the challenge arises. Where do you find that balance where you introduce a technology that helps people while acknowledging that they're people and they're going to do things that they shouldn't be doing?
This is a great discussion. How do you both go about thinking about clients that you want to prospect? And I'll give you just some of our own anecdotal evidence. We've had more success focusing on companies that see their people as assets and value them than necessarily targeting companies that have high employee turnover or have a high number of safety accidents or maybe having labor relations issues, which is to say, what looks like an obvious problem on paper may not actually lead to successful sales because those cultures truly don't want to solve the problem or they're not ready for our solution. How do you both see it when you think about going to market?
Sure. So when we just like you, Vivek, we don't go out, for lack of a better way to put it, ambulance chasing, right? We don't go after customers who have just had an accident involving forklift, or we don't do that because at that time that's not the right thing to do. If number one, and everybody's has a heightened awareness of the company is dealing with a whole lot more than just somebody getting run over, though that is a big problem. But the business itself has other issues like morale that they have to, make sure, and then they can use that as an opportunity to either improve or continue doing things the way they are. But we don't do that. So our ideal customer is really a company that says things like, and this will sound like I'm repeating all the stuff you just said, Vivek, that says things like, we want to be a good corporate citizen. We want to send our people home the way they came in. Those are the companies that we find have a high level of desire to engage in and implement solutions that will help improve the safety in their organizations. Now, when I look at some of these companies, they're by no means the laggards in their industry. They make huge profit margins. They make good money, and they're investing in safety. So what that means is investing in safety doesn't mean you're giving up margins. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. You still make good margins. And in a convoluted way, it might also mean investing in safety actually leads to higher margins.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of times something usually happens on a construction site or an unfortunate incident occurs. And that's a lot of times when I do get that call from the client or the customer saying, Alok, can you please help us improve our culture? It could be OSHA knocking on their front door. It could be a major near miss. It could be a rash of employees getting hurt. So that's most of the time when customers do reach out to me. But I absolutely love it. After that initial journey with them, and we try to take care of some of the issues that are there, the light bulb goes off, and you see it go off with the leadership team, and they say, you know what, this is really what we should be doing up front, being proactive. And so I have some customers that are building these large data centers, with Meta and Google, that understand how important it is to engage our leadership team and our craft employees to get them to be proactive, to get them to speak up when they see there are things out in the field that could cause somebody to get hurt and not after the fact. So it really is pretty interesting to see when you're sitting with leadership and all of a sudden that light bulb goes off and they want to be proactive and they want to use the cultural assessment process along, all of their job sites.
It's great. Talk to us a little bit about what the future is going to look like. There's a ton of buzz right now about humanoid robots. There's, of course, been automation in many of these industries for many years. On the one hand, we're seeing buzz about these robots coming into these industrial environments. And on the other hand, we've seen reports talking about the number of robots sold in North America is actually down year over year. So where do you see the industry going with technology like that? And how does that play into safety in terms of, do you expect an increase in number of accidents, decrease? something shorter term and longer term, out of curiosity?
When I think about this, the previous generation of robots were what were called CNC machines. If you think about it, right? Were they smart? Were they AI enabled? Were they neural net enabled? Were they chat GPT? No, they were not. But you could take a design that you made in a CAD software and you could create a piece of code called the G code, feed it into a CNC machine, put your raw material in, and voila, it did exactly what was supposed to be done. Do we see those machines replacing a bunch of people? Yes, they did. But we still have people working in factories doing other things, including all the operations that these CNC machines perform. I think it's going to be a similar change, right? In terms of there will be tasks that are easy enough for robots to perform and they will take them over. There will be tasks that will need a level of human judgment to complete. And so those will not be, cannot be roboticized or automated away. And it will end up in a place where you have a cooperative robotic team, including humans and robots. Unless, of course, we have a rogue AI and everything goes Terminator.
Do you have any thoughts, Alok?
Yeah, and I would say, in the construction industry where I really deal with a lot, right? No robots yet, but the usage of technology. When I think of technology and how it's helped us, I would say during COVID, just establishing a QR code for every time an employee checked in before they came onto the job site, answered 4 or 5 questions. Have you been out of the country? Have you been exposed? Are you testing? Do you have any symptoms? Whatever it may be. I've talked to organizations that want to establish almost a mobile eye kind of thing that is watching workers on the construction site, because you can't have 20 safety people on every job, or leadership can't be out in the field at all times watching. So I've seen those, but we've been very slow in the construction industry to adapt to technology, but I think there's definitely avenues, to help for sure.
Great. Is there anything I haven't asked both of you so far that you want to highlight on today's discussion?
Yeah, Vivek, there was one thing, when I talked about is, unfortunately there's things that happen with customers that's one of the main reasons why they call me to help them improve their culture. And I think one of the things that really sticks out is it takes time. Your culture it can't be fixed overnight. And it is a everyday conscious effort on how you communicate. It's just a lot of times customers I work with, after a 3-month, 6-month period, they'll call me and they say, hey, this isn't working. We're starting to see a lot more incidents occurring than before we hired you. And my feedback to them, and it's actually something we discussed before we even start the journey, is you've always had those incidents occurring on the job site. The only difference now is your employees trust you. They believe you do care about them. And now the only difference is they are reporting them to you. And don't you want them to report them to you versus after something really bad happens? And so a lot of times I have to reground them and explain them to, again, what they signed up for, and that this is just part of the journey. It's going to take some time, but at some point, the number of incidents will go down. And long as, our focus is on that recognition piece. And again, I'm going to go to that positive recognition piece, is when our employees are doing things right, we need to acknowledge those employees, because over 90% of our employees are doing things right. But leadership usually talks to employees that are doing things wrong. Us as parents, when your kid gets 4 A's and a B, where do the parents go to? Do you talk about the A's or do you go to the B? And at least how I was raised, dad went straight to the B and wanted to know what happened. And what we're trying to do is change that mindset, and is to try to get to focus on our employees doing things right, and also focus on the A's. And your kid, your employees will self-correct and say, hey, dad, you know what? I got that B, but if I studied a little bit harder, or if I went to those extra sessions, talked to my TA a little bit more, put a little bit more effort in, I think I can turn that B into a B plus. And they're self-correcting versus you telling them what they should do.
I don't have anything new to add. I think this was, we covered a lot of topics.
We really did. And I want to thank you both for coming on. And hopefully our guests find this as valuable as we did today in the discussion we had, and that they have an opportunity to reach out to both of you to learn more. It's really great to get the perspective of safety, Alok, from your side with training and culture and the human components of it. And then Vivek, your points around technology. So this has been wonderful. Thank you both, and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you.